What a beautiful place. What a place, hey? And what a wonderful time of day. So many of you are probably thinking, what is Shane talking about? Get lost. Well, the other day I was consulting with a client and her dad come through and said, you know what you need to do is get lost. And we both looked at each other and laughed, but her dad was being serious. He was almost like saying to her what she needed to do was get lost, find herself, almost like step away from everything she knew. I get so many emails a month, people asking me, Shane, how can I better my situation? How can I change my life? How can I change my circumstances? What can I do to make myself happy? And for me the answer has to come back to the same thing time and time again. What's absolutely needed is to get a strong sense of self. How many of you really know who you truly are? I think nowadays life moves at such a fast pace. There's so much distraction in the world around us. You've got the TV, you've got the phone, you've got the desktop, you've got the laptop, you've got the tablet, you've got the mobile phone, people, noise, shops open 7 days a week, 24/7. The world and life is moving at such a fast pace. Do we really know who we really are? When was the last time that you spent more than a few hours by yourself? Quite often for so many they haven't spent any time alone. I was really honoured and privileged many years ago to be able to spend a huge amount of time alone up in the Scottish Highlands in the Cairngorm Mountains. And those of you that know the Cairngorm Mountains in the UK will know that it is a wild place for sure. It is very raw and it is very, very, very wild. And I was able to go through the Cairngorm Mountains around about 6 weeks, and I spent that time pretty much by myself. It was a solo expedition from one side of the Cairngorm. Being in those mountains, completely alone, it strips back it strips back all the layers of who you truly are. You get to know yourself in a way that you'd never previously known. I know that experience completely transformed and changed who I was. I went into the mountains one person and I come out the mountains a completely different person. Was I a different person? Not really. What I was me. I stripped back all the layers and found who I truly was. That was a very, very powerful experience, and one that I'd never ever change. So the key really is, absolutely, there are times where you need to just lose yourself in yourself. So when people ask me how can I change my life, how can I find what's important, how can I make these changes, ultimately we need to start with us. We need to find that sense of self.